Hey everyone, welcome back to Tales Unplugged, and buckle up because on today's menu, we're diving into episode 13 of Insta Millionaire, Rich Boy Packs Lunch. You know, I gotta say, for a guy who's rolling in dough now, Alex sure has a knack for landing in some seriously awkward situations.
It really is fascinating to see how this episode starts to unpack those layers to Alex's character, especially when it comes to his, newfound wealth. He's not out there flashing it around or letting it change him. It's almost like he's, uncomfortable.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, rewind to last week, he's got that elevator situation with Lucy, the one where she ends up slapping him. Ouch. And then, to make matters worse, Rose stands him up for their dinner date because her family's business is on the rocks.
Which, little does she know, is actually thriving again, thanks to Alex. The irony is just too much.
Seriously. And now this episode throws him into a high-stakes meeting with Ken Stokes and this whole room of New York's elite. Talk about intimidating. It's like suddenly he's got to put a face to the Ambrose fortune, and I don't think he signed up for that pressure.
Oh, absolutely. And let's not forget the setting, right? Imagine it. A room full of power players, probably dripping in diamonds and designer suits.
And Alex walks in with what? Takeout containers?
Right. And we're not talking about your average sad desk lunch here. This is gourmet leftovers from that insane hotel breakfast spread he had.
Oh man, the visual alone is priceless. He's literally bringing everyone a taste of his wealth, but in the most unexpected, down-to-earth way possible.
And the best part is he's not even doing it intentionally. He's just being Alex, ordering extra to share with his friends because, they're going through it with their family business.
It's like a total power move without even trying. Instead of trying to fit in with these bigwigs by, ordering some ridiculously expensive meal, he's focused on his friends, the people who actually matter to him.
It's like he's sending a message. This wealth, this new life, it doesn't define him.
Exactly. And it totally throws everyone off guard because they probably expected some arrogant, out-of-touch heir to walk through that door. He's defying every stereotype in the book.
Right. It's endearing, almost. He's even a little self-conscious, admitting he hasn't had what he considers a decent meal in years because of his old, cheap takeout habits. Talk about relatable.
Speaking of relatable, can we talk about Lucy for a second? She goes from full-on slapping Alex in an elevator to being completely taken aback by his generosity. And the fact that he's clearly uncomfortable with all this wealth, I bet she wasn't expecting that.
It's a total 180 from their first encounter. It really makes you realize that first impressions aren't always accurate, especially when you factor in things like wealth and, in Alex's case, maybe a little social awkwardness.
And now she's offering him a ride back to campus in her Mercedes G-Wagon. One he was too intimidated to even look at before.
Yeah.
Oh, the irony.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, this is right after Rose basically brushed him off because of her family's problems.
So he's feeling vulnerable.
And in swoops Lucy, not only offering him a ride, but also a sense of understanding. That's huge for him at this moment.
Okay, but can we just acknowledge the elephant, or should I say the luxury SUV, in the room? Alex is now trapped in a car with a woman he accidentally nose-bled on, who also happens to be gorgeous and completely intriguing. Talk about an awkward car ride waiting to happen.
You can practically see the wheels turning in his head. He's trying so hard to be respectful, but he's also clearly drawn to her confidence, her humor. It's adorable.
It's true. He's so out of his depth. But there's something so genuine about how he handles it all. And just when you think things couldn't get any more interesting, boom, he gets that call from Joe.
And just like that, his priorities shift again. He remembers his friends are in crisis mode. And that fancy car ride with Lucy totally takes a backseat to being there for the people he cares about.
He doesn't even think twice, does he? He could have just enjoyed the ride. But nope, he chooses his friends, gourmet takeout in hand.
It's subtle, but such a powerful contrast to the people he's hanging with at that business meeting. They're all about appearances and power moves and who's got the best connections. Alex, he's showing us that real connection, genuine caring. That's where it's at.
Makes you wonder how long he can keep this up, though, right? This whole balancing act. On one hand, he's in this world of crazy wealth and privilege, trying to stay true to himself. And on the other hand, he's got his friends dealing with real problems, relatable problems.
And let's not forget Rose.
Oh, right, Rose.
Talk about a ticking time bomb. The whole episode we're watching this knowing she's totally clueless about Alex saving her family's business.
The anticipation is killing me.
You can cut the tension with a knife.
Seriously. How many times can he bump into her with bags overflowing with fancy food before she starts asking questions? What's she gonna think when she finds out the truth?
The irony is, he's going out of his way to show her he cares, to be there for her in his own way. But she probably thinks he's totally oblivious to what her family's going through, especially after that awkward wealth display back at the apartment.
Right, like, oh, you think gourmet takeout solves everything. That's cute.
It's going to be so interesting to see how that plays out. Will she be touched? Or will she feel betrayed that he kept it from her?
This episode is like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Just waiting to explode. Speaking of explosions, let's get back to that moment where Alex basically reveals his wealth to everyone at that meeting over takeout.
That scene was brilliant. A masterclass in understated power. He's not bragging or showing off, he's just being Alex.
Exactly. But it still throws everyone off guard, challenges their whole idea of how someone like him should act.
It's like he's accidentally giving them a peek into his values, his priorities. This isn't about impressing anyone with money. It's about sharing a meal, even if it's leftovers, with the people he cares about.
And that's what makes this episode, Rich Boy Packs Lunch, so captivating, It's not just about the crazy situations Alex stumbles into, but it's how he navigates this whole new world of wealth without letting it, change who he is at his core.
It's refreshing, isn't it? You don't see this every day. It's not your typical rags to riches story. Alex isn't out there trying to prove anything to anyone. He's not trying to buy friendships or influence.
He really isn't.
In fact, it's like he's almost embarrassed by his wealth sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Remember his reaction when he first walked into that penthouse suite? Or how he kept downplaying his family's connection to the Golden Mansion Hotel? Like, come on, Alex. He's desperately clinging to who he was before the money, before the inheritance.
And that struggle, that's relatable, even if you haven't inherited millions of dollars. We've all had those moments where we feel out of place, like we don't quite belong, whether it's a new group of friends, a fancy party, or even just a job interview.
It's that feeling, that vulnerability, the fear of being judged, that makes Alex such a relatable character. Despite these insane circumstances, he's not some untouchable millionaire. He's just a guy figuring things out, one gourmet takeout container at a time.
And that brings us to the key takeaway from this episode. The thing everyone's buzzing about. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just be yourself, even when it goes against what everyone expects.
Even if it means ordering enough takeout to feed a small army. Seriously though, Alex's actions, especially in that business meeting, they speak volumes. He'd rather share a meal with his friends than impress a room full of executives. It's a good reminder that true wealth isn't about the money. It's about the relationships we build and the values we choose to live by.
And that's something worth thinking about, right? In a world obsessed with status and material things, Alex reminds us that some of the most valuable things in life, well, you can't put a price tag on them. Things like genuine connection, loyalty, and hey, a really good plate of leftovers.
So, as we wait with bated breath for the next episode of Insta Millionaire, here's a little food for thought. How often do we let other people's expectations dictate our actions? Do we find ourselves trying to impress others, even if it means compromising our own values? And what would it look like if we all embraced our own version of Alex's takeout power move? Just being authentically ourselves, no matter the situation.
It's definitely something to chew on. Until next time on Tales Unplugged, remember, the most satisfying stories. They're often the ones that make us question our assumptions and remind us what truly matters.